Welcome to Effective Communication Part 3. Defend, deflect, destroy, and deny. As we see that we live in a world where we live together, whether we live inside a home together, in a community together, or we're getting along in a workplace together, we need to be able to communicate. We need to be able to live with each other, even with our differences. And in order to do that, it's life that there are times that we need to address our differences or address an issue. And I'm going to go over today some of the ways that people respond. Instead of listening and trying to work through things, there's 4 different reactions or responses that most people have, because most often we're trying to be on the defensive and feel we're being attacked or we don't do anything wrong, and therefore nothing ever gets accomplished and the issue is never fixed. And so what we're going to be going over today is what I call the 4 Ds. That's deflect, defend, destroy, and deny. All 4 of them are not productive. And so what I'm hoping through this video is that you're going to be able to recognize when you're doing it or somebody else is doing it, and then it can be addressed. And in a future video, we will be going over how to do it properly. But right now we're going over different segments, so everything's not too long. And then in the next video or segment, we'll begin to really hone in on some good, healthy communication skills that you'll be able to take with you, I hope, and really embrace and learn to have some good discussion, good, healthy discussions where we are really able to listen to each other. So the first one I want to go over is deflect. And just like the word says, deflect is to cause something to change direction. So in other words, it's kind of like putting up that shield and I want it to bounce off me and go back somewhere else. And with that, what happens is when somebody comes to me, I change the conversation to deflect back to them or onto someone or something else. That is not healthy. So I'm going to give you some examples of that so that you can understand what it is a deflection is. So let's take, for example, that a husband leaves his clothes all over the place all the time. And it's a little frustrating because, again, we are living in a home together, and it aggravates me if I am a person who is neat. So in this case, when the wife goes to the husband and she says what her feelings are and addresses the issue, hey, honey, I just would like to talk to you about your stuff always being left all over the house. And his response would not be to embrace and talk to her about it, but his response would want to deflect back maybe to her. In this case, like saying something like, well, you leave your makeup out on the counter all the time. So in other words, rather than talk about it or her feelings on this bigger issue, he immediately turns it and deflects it back to her. Or another time as a husband, maybe wanting to talk to his wife about the amount of money she's spending because they're starting to go over budget and they need to be watching their spending a little bit better. So when he approaches her about the budget and feeling like, hey, I just want us to talk about our spending because I feel like you may be spending a little bit more than our budget, she comes back with the response, not wanting to talk about it. She just says, you should be really lucky. I don't spend half the money that other women do. But again, she deflected off of her onto what other women spend. And we don't know their situation. Those women can be crazy in debt, or those women can have a lot more money than them. But in both those cases, the issue was not addressed, and it was deflected off of them onto somebody else. The next one we're going to talk about is defend. That, I need to defend what is being addressed. Instead of taking ownership and responsibility, it's kind of like deflecting. I'm going to defend why I do something instead of addressing it, taking responsibility, and figuring out a change that could take place. So say, for example, you are coming in late quite often, and so the boss comes up to you to address it, and immediately you are excusing it, trying to pass blame. Well, it's because my kids are never ready on time. Or, well, it takes us so long to log in. I get here on time, but I'm not in my computer because it takes 10 minutes, and that's why I'm always late. Again, taking no responsibility and not willing to talk about it, which then gets us further into trouble. And then the next one is destroy. That when I come to you with an issue, or maybe we just want to talk about a subject, something that we disagree with. Remember, we're learning to be able to communicate, hear each other, and be able to live in an environment together, whether it's in a home, a workplace, a neighborhood, a city, a country, a state, whatever it may be. We need to learn to listen to each other. And so if I may have a different opinion than you, and rather than us talking about it and getting into a deeper conversation as to why we believe what we believe, right away people are calling us names, or they are intimidating us. They may threaten, they may name call, put down, their tone, their words are demeaning. None of this is okay. None of it's okay. And we're going to talk about how all of those things must be addressed if this abuse is coming at you in the conversation. So we're going to be talking about a little bit more about it. Because what these people do is they take the conversation off of the issue, and they attack the very personhood of somebody. Again, you're just a lazy slob. All right? That is not necessary if I'm going to my husband to talk about his clothes being left out. Because then what I'm doing, I'm attacking the personhood, and I'm not dealing with the problem. So we'll talk in the next video exactly how we're to address those different things. The next one is to deny, to even deny that you do something. And so an example would be, kind of going back to where the wife is yelling at her kids and the husband wants to talk to her about it. Well, she can deny it and say, I don't do that. I need to raise my voice so that they will listen to me. And, another time would be more the deflecting, where it would be, well, if they would just listen to me, I wouldn't have to yell. But I have to yell, again, so they'll listen to me. So she's either going to deny that she's yelling or excuse that she's yelling. So if I'm excusing it, then she's trying to deflect it off of her, and instead of taking accountability for her yelling, she wants to take that off of her and put it onto the kids, when the discussion is about her emotions being in control. And so with that, it's very important to understand that we do not need to deny, and we do not need to destroy. We need to listen and talk to the person about the subject. Like I said, we'll be doing that a little bit more in the next video. Another example may be, that somebody wants to come to me and tell me that I don't love because I won't embrace maybe a certain subject or I disagree with a thinking. And right away, oh, I love everybody. And I deny what they're thinking. And in the next video, we're going to be able to see how to get those people to clarify exactly how they believe that I don't love somebody. Rather than just denying it, we need to go deeper at times to be able to get to a root issue. And so what we want to understand is that when I deflect off of me onto you or others, when I deny or when I destroy or when I defend, we usually walk away with the issue not getting taken care of. And when that happens, like we talked about when you're passive, that's when hate and bitterness and insecurities can begin to grow inside of us and become very harmful. So it's very important to be able to acknowledge these different responses and address them and bring it back to the issue. Now, one tip I do want to leave with you guys, if you're the person going to someone else, like say, for example, you're that husband going to the wife about her spending, or you're the wife going to the husband about his clothes, I want us to really think also about the way we go to the person. And remember, in that first video, we talked about how our body language and our tone speak a lot more than our words. But also, I love scripture because scripture always gives us such great examples. And an example I want to use is David, which was found in 2 Samuel 12, 1 through 17. And the whole account starts in chapter 11. But after David had sinned with Bathsheba and then had Bathsheba's husband killed and ended up with a baby, God sent Nathan to David to let David know basically that God saw what he did and it wasn't okay. And what Nathan did is he didn't just go up to David and say, you know what, David, what you did was wrong. No, what God had him do, David was a shepherd, and David was a good shepherd. And David looked out for his sheep. And so he could understand a relationship between a shepherd and sheep. Well, God had Nathan use that analogy about a shepherd who had so many sheep and went and took a lamb from someone who just had one. Oh, David got mad and said that person should be killed. At that point, when David could have his understanding, Nathan said, "You're the man." And with that analogy, it was able to help David understand what he had done. David repented and cried out to God for forgiveness, and David's soul was restored. And another example is Paul. Paul, not only was he a great missionary, but he also was a great overseer as well. He often had to do the hard stuff. A lot of times we don't want to confront the hard stuff, we like to be passive. We don't want to do waves. But Paul had a great way that if you notice in his letters, Paul would usually begin with compliments and telling them what they were doing right and good. And then he would switch it over to the issues of the different churches. And we see that as well with the churches in Revelation. You know, it would say all these good stuff, but I have one thing against you. You left your first love. Or it would go on. So with that, I want us to remember, if you are the person going to somebody with an issue, pray first and ask God for those analogies or how you should go. And so with that, I want us to really understand that we need to be able to go to people. It's very important. And that's, again, why I'm doing these videos, so that we will know how to talk to each other. We will know how to be assertive. And so in the next video, I will actually be teaching you the importance of how to do it and begin giving you the healthy skills to do it. So until then, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about your style. Am I passive? Am I aggressive? Or am I assertive? Do I or they deny, deflect, destroy, or defend what is being said? Or do we embrace and hear the person? So until next time, I'd like you just to start paying attention to how you communicate. So until next time.